All right, you guys, what's up? Welcome back to our live feed here. Tonight, we are going to be wrapping up the bikini division at the Arnold. Yeah, say hi when you get on. Hello, hi. We are live on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. If you're logging on Instagram, that's cool. You'll be able to listen to me, but you won't see any of the pictures. So if you want to see photos and things like that, screen shares, then go over to our YouTube or to our Facebook. And if you don't know how to get there, the link's in my link tree on Instagram. Okay, so it's Shawn's Couture Cuties on either platform. Missed you too. Missed you too. Hello, what's up? Everybody's here. Everybody's ready for this one. Everybody's ready to go. This is a big one. This is a big one. The year is officially started. Um, it's off to a crazy start already. While we're waiting for everybody to get logged on, as you guys know, if you've been here with me before, we wait about 3 minutes or so everybody gets their notifications. They can get on. If you are not subscribed to my YouTube channel, subscribe and turn on notifications, because then you'll automatically get a notification when I go live. All right. But also here in the corner, the QR code, we've got the free newsletter QR code up here. So that's boldlyconquer.com. All you got to do is type your email address in there, and that gets you in on our free newsletter, and you get all of our in the know stuff, like when I'm going live, what our topics are, when we do behind the bikini, all the things going on with the cuties and all that kind of fun stuff. So if you're not on the newsletter list, get on there. It's free. We got a whole crew here ready to go tonight. I love it. I love it. How's everybody's week going so far? This week is just blown by because, I got back on Sunday night and I just feel like it's like been boom, 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 boom. So it's been crazy. Now, for those of you that are new here, I really, really encourage a lot of interaction. So I don't want to just be talking to myself. So if you have questions as we go along, feel free to shoot them in. Also, if you have questions that you'd like us to cover on Behind the Bikini, feel free to do that too. We're going to be shooting another episode tomorrow morning. So jump on here if you got a question that you want us to answer. Go ahead and shoot that to me here, either on the comments here or in the DMs, whatever you want to do, and shoot us over a question if you'd like us to cover it. Yes, the official start to the season. Yep, it's the official start to the season. And it was a good one, you guys. It was a good one. If you're here on chat with me now, type in and let me know. Were you there at the Arnold in person, or did you watch it on the live stream? Type in, let me know. Did you watch it? And did you agree with the placings? Did you agree with how everything fell? Because we're going to go through everybody. I'm going to just kind of, obviously I did my commentary there live. So I'm going to pull up some of the photos and show you what I saw so that you guys can see it. There's not a ton of photos out, but there are some. There's a few girls that they don't even have like a full front pose for them, that kind of thing. So I wasn't able to pull full pictures like I typically do on NBC News. They're on Muscle Insider. So watch it. No, I did not agree. Well, by and large, I agreed with the results. But you guys know that. I mean, I told you guys what my predictions were, and they fell pretty much how I thought they were going to. There was a few things that were wild cards in the whole thing, and they played out kind of how I thought they were going to be honest with you. So, yeah, we're going to pull that up. So if anybody's logging on, they know what we're doing. We're the Arnold Classic Bikini Wrap-Up. So again, there weren't a ton of photos, but we're going to go through it. But I'm going to go through and show you the photos and things like that, and give you an idea of some of the feedback that I've heard. I don't know everybody's feedback, but I'm going to tell you what I think. And I did hear some feedback. So I'll let you guys know that kind of stuff too. Live stream, watch the live, pretty happy with the results. Yeah. Here's the thing when it comes to it. I'm the same way with you. Like if you guys watched my coverage, I had Amy winning it. But it was a very close decision, right? It was a very close decision. My battery on my phone here on Instagram, if you're on here, is getting very close to dying. So make sure you get onto YouTube or Facebook so that you can follow along. But yeah, it was very, very close. And here's the thing, and we'll get into this when we talk about them a little bit more. You guys know that I had Amy winning it. but not by a lot, And again, I even said this before they came out and said it. I said, I think this is going to be like a 1 point decision. And it was a 1 point decision. So it was very, very, very close. So let's pull up the scorecard first. That's the first thing I want to show you guys. So I'm going to explain how the scorecard looks a little bit too, so that you can understand how this played out. Okay. There we go. Vanya looked amazing. Excited to see the rest of her season play out. Yeah, Vanya was definitely a good surprise, right? Love your commentary. Thank you. I'm glad you guys enjoyed the commentary. So here's our scorecard. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to look at is I want you to look at Lauralee and Amy. So we got Amy right here, and we got Lauralee number 11 right here. And if you look over here at their scores, we got 1 and 2, but we got 7 and 8. So obviously, if you don't know, this works like golf. So the lower the score, the better the placing. And so what this means is they were literally 1 point apart. Okay, this is a subjective sport, so that means half the panel had Lauralee and half the panel had Amy. And it's always they always have to split it. They always have that kind of thing, so that somebody wins. So it wasn't a split decision, but it was a 1 point decision. So one of the judges favored Lauralee over Amy. So this is a good thing. This actually makes it very interesting for us going through the rest of the year, because that puts both Lauralee and Amy into a very good position going into the Olympia this year, right? Now, Amy's going to have to compete to win a show so she can qualify. Lauralee does qualify Lauralee, so she's qualified now. And the thing we got to look at too is when we're looking at the Olympia, Lauralee beat Amy at the Olympia. Lauralee was really off at the Olympia, and then Amy came in okay at the Olympia, but Amy came in my opinion her best here at the Arnold. So when you're looking at it that way, Lauralee massively improved her package from the Olympia, massively improved it. So it's kind of difficult for Amy to go ahead and leapfrog over her at this point with an improved Lauralee. You know what I mean? So with that, I think it was pretty fairly judged. You know what I mean? So I could have given it, like I said, I could have gone either way. And I said this several times on my commentary. I just really didn't know which direction it was going to go, because they both had a lot of really, really great points. They both looked phenomenal. And when it came down to it at prejudging, I was just looking for flaws. So I was just looking at flaws and things that could potentially be a bad thing. You know what I mean? It was really coming down to that being that close. So to answer the question, yes, the podcast is going to be shot tomorrow. So if you guys have questions, feel free to shoot those in, because we will do, listener questions and things like that tomorrow too. 1 and 2, I'm good with, and Vanya is 3rd, but Angelica 4th. No one love her, and also she looked great, but Phoebe 5th. And so I don't agree with that at all, and I'll go into that, and I'll show you why. I agree with all the placings, that were outside the top 6. I agree with that. Let's see. Okay, so let's look at the scorecard again. So obviously Lauralee and Amy were 1 point apart. Very, very close. They both had phenomenal packages. Like, I feel like if they had brought these packages to the Olympia, the top 5 would have been different. I really do. I think it would have been very, very different. I think I could have seen Lauralee up in the top 2. I could have seen Amy up in the top 3, that kind of thing. So it could have been a very, very different story if they had brought those packages to the Olympia. Then when we look outside of that, we've got 3rd, which was Vanya, and then 4th, which was Angelica, and that was pretty clear cut. So look at their scores, okay? Vanya here has 15, and then Angelica has 20. So it was a very, very clear distinction that Vanya was in 3rd and Angelica was in 4th. I saw that specifically when I was at prejudging. I had Vanya as a very clear 3rd place. Now, they never really moved Angelica out of that 4th place position, so I figured she was going to be in 4th place as well. I have some critiques for her, but to be honest with you, her first show back after 4 years, she looked phenomenal for being off stage for that long, right? So I think she did amazing. I think she's going to make some tweaks going into the UK. I'm really interested to see what she does going to the UK Arnold to make a better presentation going forward. But I think it was deserved. And then we go into 5th and 6th, which were Phoebe here with 26 and 6th with Ellie with 29. So Phoebe was pretty clearly in 5th, but Ellie did get a few of those votes, right? So I pretty much saw that. I figured that. I thought Ellie's package was very good. And again, we're going to go into her pictures in a minute. But to me, I figured she was going to be in sixth. But I mean, to me, she looked like she was in sixth. And then we get outside of the top six, and then we go into the bottom half of the group. I don't think that anybody here on this particular stage was really bad. You know what I mean? I don't think anybody looked bad. You know, sometimes we go into these Arnolds and there's like one or two girls that look absolutely like they just shouldn't have been on stage. And we didn't have that at all. And we had some girls that didn't have their best packages possible, you know, but they didn't look like they weren't in shape. They didn't look like they shouldn't be there, those kinds of things. They all looked phenomenal. You know, looking at, you know, Rhoda's a good example. She was the Arnold Amateur winner from last year. And sometimes when you get that Arnold Amateur winner that comes in the next year, they get an automatic invite. And sometimes they just don't look like they're pro ready yet. But you can see here, she placed seventh, you know, and she was the Arnold Amateur overall winner last year. So she did phenomenal just by herself, right? So that was actually really good. You know, I was again, going back to, I was very, very happy overall with the quality of the competitors. I think everybody looked great, you know, and again, going back to, I don't think everybody had their best package, but in general, everybody looked really, really good. So that's always a good thing. That shows you that the quality is there, which was fantastic. I love seeing that. So I have very limited photos that I can show you. Because they just don't have a lot out. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Tamikia. So let's see if I can, they didn't even have a full front shot of Tamikia. So I'm going to show you her back shot because I think that's the one that kind of shows clearly why she was placed where she was placed. Now this isn't, again, she's not even fully posed here. So I hate doing this because the pictures that they have of these girls, most of them are not even fully posed. So I don't like to critique them too hard in this because they're not fully in their pose yet. But this is where Tamikia was off. She was off in her conditioning on her lower half, okay? This is what we said going into this particular show. Tamikia's issue is if she gets in condition enough on top, then she's not in condition enough on bottom. In order for her bottom half to come in condition, she comes in too shredded just overall. So what she's got to do, and this is what my suggestion would be to add some more muscle density onto her lower half of her body. And in doing so, what she can do, I'm sorry, take that back. So lower half of her body, more muscle density, and just more muscle in general on top. Because then what she can do is that she can pull that leanness down without getting too lean in the lower half, or I'm sorry, too lean in the upper half and lean enough on the lower half. I know that was a big jumble of words, but basically she just needs to add some, needs to add some size is what she needs to do, because that's the only way she's going to be able to balance her conditioning. A good example of somebody who has done this over time is Vana. And I'll talk about that when we get to her. Vana has done that. Vana had this same issue that Tamikia is having right here the first 2 years of her pro career. Now she's got to that point where she is balanced with her conditioning from top to bottom, right? So that's what Tamikia's got to do, right? So it's not, so Kelby, it's not even that they need a new photographer. It's that they only allowed certain photographers to shoot this particular show. So they didn't put out a lot of content other than the photographers that were allowed to shoot. Like myself, when I came, you know, I was media myself. When I came in, they specifically said no professional cameras, none. So that's where you run into issues. We had some really great videos that came out, fantastic videos from Gilco and everything like that came out, but we just don't have a lot of really good stage shots yet. Hopefully they're going to put out more, you know what I mean? So they had good photographers there. It's just they're limiting how those photos are being distributed, basically. So with that, so this is Tamikia. So that's why she landed where she landed. And I agree with it. I think it was right. Her conditioning was off. It is what it is. You know what I mean? So then we're going to go into, let's see if I can find, this was your next placing. So Amanda, when I mentioned Amanda with our preview, what I said was I thought she was going to be and she was. In general, she was over-conditioned. She was too conditioned. She was too lean. You can actually see that in her legs here. You can see the graininess in her legs a little bit when we're talking about that. She looked a little bit over-dieted, basically. I think they did that because she doesn't have a lot of size on her. But when you look at her overall look and you look at her overall shape, she's got a phenomenal look, right? My critique for her would be to go just put another layer of muscle on her entire frame, right? If she does that, she's going to do very, very well in the pro league. She's just a little bit too small right now. I would go take an off season and just focus on, again, putting volume of muscle everywhere. Her lower body or upper body everywhere, except for the midsection. We never want to add weight to the midsection in any division ever. So there's that. But if she just adds some more shoulders, some more glutes, some more legs, just an overall, bumps up the muscularity, she's going to look very, very good. And again, she's a beautiful girl, has a beautiful look, has a beautiful shape. Like, she's got a fantastic X frame. She just needs to fill it out. So what I think she brought to the stage here was great. I think with what she has, her shape, her frame, everything, I think she did a good job. I just think she needs more size. If she brings more size, she's going to do phenomenal. She's going to do phenomenal, right? So that was Amanda. And then next up we have, she was 10th. 9th place was Ivana. So this one I was a little bit surprised about. I personally in the previews thought she could be quite a bit higher, but she wasn't really on point. There was just something a little off with her. This is not really a front pose, but again, we're limited in the photos that we have of her. The challenge with Ivana is that she tends to come in too conditioned, and then she loses some of that pop. So she does very, very well when she's in the regular shows and things like that. But sometimes these bigger shows, she just gets a little bit lost. Now you can't see it here in this photo, but when she poses in her front pose, she has a very long torso, which kind of throws off her proportions. I would really want to try to work with that front pose quite a bit. This is not her front pose, which is also a problem. Sometimes she poses a little bit weird. This is not a very flattering pose. It's almost like a cross between bikini and figure. So there was a couple of shots of her in this particular position right here, and I don't think it's the most flattering on her. So I would really like to see her rework her front pose. I don't know exactly what needs to be done in order to make it pop correctly, but because she has that long torso, it just throws off her V taper into her upper body. So there's that. And then, like I said, her conditioning was just a little off. She was lacking some pop in the back. I don't think she was too conditioned. I don't know. It was just a little off. She didn't have that pop. So I know what they've been trying to do with her is they've been trying to get her in condition, but also keep her full. And that's a very, very difficult thing to do when somebody is so used to being so well conditioned. She's from Europe. She's from Spain. European competitors do tend to come in a little bit leaner, and that's always been her thing. She's always come in a little bit leaner. So, trying to balance that and bring her in a little bit fuller is a hard thing to do sometimes. I mean, you can even see it in this photo here when you look at her back shoulder. Look at the back shoulder and how it's kind of striated here a little bit. She's got some vascularity going on here. She's a little bit too hard, and I don't know how you fix that exactly. But it just, again, I just don't think this was her best look. I think it's just a matter of trying to tweak and find the right spot for her, right? And I also am more of a fan of the red suit versus the blue. I don't think the blue is bad. I just like her better in red. So, yes, good to meet you too. So that's a good place for me to actually mention this. I'm going to close out the Instagram feed right now because my phone is literally going to die any second. So I'm going to go ahead and close that out and just exit out. For those of you that are here on Instagram, head on over to YouTube or Facebook and watch over there. So we've also got photos and stuff like that up there too. If you don't know where to get to YouTube, go ahead and click on the link tree in my bio on Instagram and that'll take you there. Okay. So I'm going to close this out just so that we don't lose this whole thing. I'll go back and fix that later. All right, there's that. Okay, so that was Ivana. So again, I don't think it was a bad package. Again, going back to, I don't think any of these girls were like majorly off. I think that a lot of these girls were very, very on. So if you were off just a little bit, it really showed up because everybody was so on. So we're going to go to our next placement, which was 9th, we said 9th, sorry. 8th, which is Atavia. So let's go to Atavia next. Where is she at? I know I pulled up a picture of her. There she is. Okay, found her. Okay, Okay, so again, European competitor, right? Same situation here that we talked about with Ivana. She just has too much density of muscle, a little bit too lean. At prejudging, her tan was definitely too light. I don't know if they did the tan light on purpose. They may have done it on purpose to try to bring down her muscularity a little bit. Didn't really work. When you look at her delts and you look at her legs, she is thick with muscle. She is thick, thick, thick. So again, going back to, there's some of these girls like Amanda from Brazil needs to add some muscle, and Atavia needs to take some muscle off. It's really hard once you have that muscle density to get rid of it. It's so hard to do that. And again, I don't think this was a bad package for her. I think this is just something that she's going to have to tweak and kind of deal with as she goes along. None of these girls look bad. Again, we're talking about 10 girls, the top 10 girls in the world. You know what I mean? So we're really splitting hairs here. But I wasn't a fan of the tan. I'm also not a fan of that hairstyle. That midsection, that middle part like that, it just doesn't do her any favors. I would have just taken it from the side and just flip it to the one side. I think that would have done wonders for her. Also not a fan of the suit top. Now, she has the implants that kind of sit out a little bit. So she needs a top that has some more support that can pull her in. It was just really distracting more than anything else. Made her look really wide across the chest. So I really reworked that top. And I also don't think that the color was the best color for her. I don't think it was bad, but I don't think it was the best. I'd like to see something with some more pigment to it that pops a little bit better on her. Just overall, her presentation needs some work. Just all of these little things kind of added up. But at the end of the day, I also don't think this was a terrible package for her. I think it was one of her better packages. I just think if she wants to get up into those top call outs at the Olympia and things like that, these are the things she's going to have to fix. She's going to have to fix her tan, her density, her makeup, or her makeup was fine. Makeup's fine. Her hair, little things like this. They will make a difference when you're talking about getting up to the upper level of this particular division, right? I'm curious to see what she does for the UK, because she's also competing in the UK Arnold. So I'm curious to see if she makes some improvements there. I don't think there's a lot that you can do between, in 2 weeks as far as bringing the muscle density down. That's kind of hard to do. But the presentation thing she definitely can fix. So let's see if she does that. We'll see. Let's see. Next thing is we have Rhoda. Where's Rhoda? Here she is. Okay, I keep going back to this girl's just gorgeous. She's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful girl, right? When it comes to her suit and everything like that, it was stunning. This was a perfect color for her. I would not change this suit at all. I think it was beautiful on her skin tone, everything. She's definitely too lean from the front and the back, in her back post too, and her legs really. You can see how grainy she is. You can see that when you turn her to the back, you can see all of the cuts in her hamstrings. So she's definitely too lean. But the thing with that though is that she's a little washed out in the waistline. So you got to find that balance. This is hard too because she has a short torso. So because she has a short torso, you got to try to expand that look of her X frame a little bit too. This front pose could be reworked. Her back arm being so hard like that, if she just relaxes that and like relaxes her whole upper body and just stands up a little taller, that's going to make her waistline shrink. And I think it's just going to make her proportions look a little bit better here. But really where she's going to have to fix some things in order to get her up in the ranks is the leanness in her lower body. It was just too much. She has phenomenal glute genetics. Phenomenal glute genetics. I mean, ridiculous. So it's just a matter of finding that spot where she's going to be perfect. I don't think they had, I'm looking right now to see if they had a back shot of her. I don't think they did. Yeah, I don't see one, unfortunately. I could be missing it, but I don't see one. So there's that. Where's it at? There it is. I'm gonna look real quick again, just see if by chance I can find it. No, No, I don't see a back shot from her. But anyway, yeah, phenomenal look. She's just going to go get better from here. So it's just a matter of finding that balance for her. If she can find that balance for her, she's gonna be one to be paying attention to for sure, 100%. All right, so y'all still with me? Comment. Let me know you're still here. I feel like I'm talking to myself again. Let's see. So that was Rhoda. Let's go to 6th, which was Ellie. Here she is. Okay. So, yeah, it's great to see you too for a hot second. So here's Ellie. This was a good package for Ellie. Was it her best? I don't think it was her best. I think it was very good. I wasn't a fan of the pink. If it was a pink with pink stones, yes, absolutely. But it was a pink with like the AB stones on it, which really washed her out. This is where you got to be careful with those designs, you guys. This particular suit definitely washed her out. I mean, you can even see it in this photo here. It's almost like it blends with her skin tone. From the back, she's a little square from the back. And I think that's what's holding her back. She just needs a little more pop to her glutes to give her a little bit more X-frame shape for her. And also on this front pose, I was not a fan of this hand position right here. That like this pinky going into her waistline was very distracting to me. So I would fix a few of those little things like that. Conditioning was good. I think in general, the only thing I would really like to see is just a little bit more projection, a little bit more upper outer glute from her. And I think that would do it. You know what I mean? I think this was a very good package. I don't think it was her best, but I think it was a very good package for her. Little tweaks like the hand position on her waistline and just a different suit. I think that would make a big difference for her. But I think where she's got to improve the shape is going to be from the back, the projection on the glutes in the back. But again, really good picture for her. Really good picture for her, really good package for her. The pink with the white stones. Yeah, right. Agree. As far as awesome glute genetics for Rhoda, all of the above. she's got a great shape from the back. She really does. Everything, all of the above. So she was born with great glutes. The hamstring drop, all of it. So so that was Ellie. So let's go to 5th, which was Phoebe. And again, we don't have a full front pose from Phoebe. She's like mid transition. So her arm looks a little funny. So don't mind her arm. It's not how she actually posed. She's like halfway there into her pose here. So as far as Phoebe is concerned, I thought this was a very good package for her. I don't think it was 100%. She was better at finals than she was at prejudging. I think she needs to come in just a touch leaner so that she almost had like a little squishiness from the back. And I saw it a lot when she was walking at prejudging. And it was just almost like a film over top of her. So I did talk to her a little bit after the show, and she asked me what I thought as far as did she think she was just flat, or did I think she was just flat, or did I think she needed to drop another pound or two? I think she needed drop another pound or two and then fill back out with her glutes, but nothing more than that, because if she drops too much more, she's going to be too hard from the front. So I think she was very, very close. I think if she drops like another pound going into the UK, I think she'd be right on, because she was actually better at finals than she was at prejudging. If she had brought that package, then maybe she could have fought for 4th place. She was pretty clearly in 5th here, but I think she probably could have fought Angelica for the 4th place position if she was just a touch tighter. The other thing I'm not a fan of is her suit top. It's just not full enough on her frame. To me, I felt like her balance from top to bottom from the front was probably one of the best balanced looks I've ever seen on Phoebe from the front, except the flatness at the top. So I've critiqued her tops before. Sometimes they're too long, sometimes they're too short. I think with this one, it was like a womp moment on the top. Like I just want to see it pop a little bit more. I don't know exactly if it's a matter of just stuffing it or whatever. It just kind of looked a little flat. So maybe go like I don't know, a half an inch longer, but not much more than that on the actual top itself. I don't know. It's very, very close, but it's just kind of lacked that oomph for me. And that was the only thing that I saw from the front that I really would have changed, because I felt like, again, I felt like her shoulders and her glutes and everything, her waistline was very, very well balanced from the front. So it's just a little bit off on the suit top. So yeah, just something. She's got to give it a little bit more oomph. And I'll talk about that too when we get to Laura Lee, because Laura Lee does a really good job with her top. So I'll show you the difference when we get to Laura Lee. Then we had, so that was Phoebe in 5th. Then we had 4th, we had Angelica. There she is. Okay. So again, going back to with Angelica, I felt like this was a very good package for her, especially coming back after being off stage for so long. But there's a lot of things that I would change. So she's not fully in her pose. So again, cut her some slack here. She's not fully in her pose. But she has some lower ab distension here. That is likely from having 2 babies. You know, that's not something that you can fix through diet. That's more muscle control. So she just needs to really, and I've watched her YouTube series, so I know she's really working on vacuums and things like that. But that's even more so, like that's where I would really focus. Like between now and the UK, I would probably just hammer vacuums all day long. You know, just trying to keep that lower ab in tight. From the front, she was very, very lean, and from the back, she wasn't. So this is something that we get into when we start getting a little older, right? We tend to get a little grainy and a little hard from the front. Whenever you look at Masters competitors, this is the situation, right? It's hard for us to be full in front and be tight enough in the back. So this is what I'm seeing here with Angelica. She had splits in her quads when she was walking. She was definitely in shape. She needs more shoulders. That's always been a thing. She's always needed more shoulders. And then from the back, she was just loose. So what can she do between now and the UK? She can really focus on vacuums. She can try to come in a touch tighter on her backside. So this is the same scenario with Phoebe. I would come in a pound or 2 tighter and then fill out. And then she might be able to pop that backside a little bit better than she did here. It's the same, literally the same exact thing that I said Phoebe needs to do. And then I felt like her posing was not up to date. And I do agree that she needs to work on her posing. I do agree that she needs to work on her posing. Like, it was almost like a throwback moment when she was on stage, because it was old school posing from, a few years ago. That could also be her just like working nerves out or something like that. And so I think it was more of a nostalgia kind of thing when we saw Angelica up there. So I think there's a lot of little tweaks that she could make between now and the UK to come in better. If she can bring it in a touch tighter from the back, she can fill everything back out and just be tighter and fuller in general. So again, going back to what I said, same thing I said about Phoebe, same thing here. She just needs to be a little bit tighter. And I say a little bit because we don't want her too tight to the point where she's going to be super shredded from the front, right? So it's a really, really tough balancing act. It's a really, really tough balancing act. And I think she did a phenomenal job coming back, like I said, after being off stage for so long, since, 2020. So she is turning 40. She looks phenomenal for 40. Like, I mean, come on now, like really, like ridiculous. So she should be very, very proud of what she put up on there. And then, at the end of the day, she just needs to make a few tweaks to be a little bit better. So, yeah, I know they thought that her posing was good. I know that's what the feedback was that she had, but clearly when you see her next to the other girls, she's still just a little bit off with her posing. So I think it's more so a confidence thing. I think it's more so working the jitters out. And I think it's just kind of getting her feet back on the stage more than anything else. Again, she goes back to what she knows. She goes back to what she's always done and what's always worked for her. She's got to update a little bit. So again, I go back to, if you take 4 years off, this is a really, really good way to come back, right? Really, at the end of the day. So no, at this point, I think it's just gonna be better from here. Let's look at, where are we at? I totally lost my place. Vanya, we're at third. Okay. So Vanya was the shock of the show for a lot of people. Not for me. As you guys know, I said I felt like Vanya could be like the dark horse coming out. I felt like she could be the one that everybody's sleeping on, and all of that. So, and she was. I mean, she clearly was. She came in. This is probably the best look I've ever seen on Vanya ever. Um, she carries a lot of muscle, and she finally has been able to hone it all in. She's finally been able to get everything in condition at once so that she's balanced from top to bottom. You know, I mentioned she used to have the same issue that Tamikia currently has, where her lower body it was just another couple pounds off her lower body. Posing was great. Her whole look was great. Sometimes she's a little off on the polish department, meaning I'm not a huge fan of her suit, or I'm not a fan of her hair, or something like that. She hit all of those points here. She hit all of those points here on this particular show. She fixed all of those little things. So, you know, going into the Arnold UK, she is currently ranked the highest out of everybody going into the Arnold UK. So I mean, she's one you got to watch. We'll preview the Arnold UK next week, but she's definitely one that's going to be on the radar and could be a potential winner going in. If she brings this package to the Arnold UK, I don't think anybody's going to beat her. I'll be honest, she was a very, very clear third place to me. Like, nobody was even close to her. Like, I felt like the bottom half of that first call out, we're all fighting against each other. And I felt like she was right smack dab there in third place. So if that's the case going into the UK, I'll be interested to see if anybody beats her, because I think this was her best package I've seen from her yet. And she's just getting, you know, I mentioned this, I interviewed her at the meet and greet. And I said she's one of those girls that's just been she's been slowly climbing up over and over. She just comes back and gets a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better. And here we are now. So I'd love to see her take that title. So we'll see. And now we come down to Amy and Laura Lee. So this was very, very hard, you guys. I mean, honestly, I was sitting there in the audience. You guys, if you listen to my commentary ever, usually I have a pretty clear, like, this girl's going to win. Like, that's usually me. Sometimes I'm not right, but I'm pretty clear about who I think is going to take the title. You know what I mean? This time, I wasn't at all. I ended up picking Amy in the end because I felt like she had less flaws. But I was sitting there the whole time. I was just like, this could go either way. This could really go either way. Plus, you guys also know me. I always go for the underdog. I always go for the underdog. So if somebody's going into a show, just so you guys know, if somebody's going into a show and they're the underdog and it's very, very close, I'm going to side with the underdog. That's just how it is. So in this particular situation, Amy was the underdog going into the show. I felt like this was the best package I've seen from Amy, period. I loved the bright red suit, loved the look overall, loved the posing. She fixed her posing from the Olympia. When she went into the Olympia, she had done a different front pose that was based on judging critiques. After the Olympia, they told her they didn't like it, so she went back to her original front pose. And I think this is very, very well balanced. This is probably the tightest I have ever seen her waistline look. So to me, I kept looking at that and I was like, man, this is a really, really well balanced look. I felt like her presentation was very confident. I didn't see any flaws with her, right? From the front, from the back. I know a lot of people were saying that from the back, she didn't look like she had tie-ins. She had tie-ins. She had just enough. I'm going to pull up comparison shots too after we talk about them each individually. So to me, this was a phenomenal look for Amy. I did have her winning. But again, as I said on my commentary, both in the morning and at prejudging, I really could see it going either way. I just picked somebody so I could pick somebody. You know what I mean? So great job by her. I don't think I would change anything, to be honest with you. I would just do it again. Just do it again, do it again, do it again, right? Then, lastly, we have our winner, which was Laura Lee. So let's get Laura Lee up here. So again, I was very impressed with Laura Lee. This was a massive, massive improvement over the Olympia. Massive improvement over the Olympia. Front pose. This is the best front pose I've seen from Laura Lee, hands down. Best front pose I've seen from her, hands down. Now, people were critiquing her a lot on her ribs, and I agree with that, but she's always had it. That's always been Laura Lee's thing. She's always been ribby. So I don't know if they gave her that critique or not. That is something that I look at. That is something that I see. She's ribby there. So whatever she's got to do to try to minimize that, that is something that I would try to minimize and focus on. I did talk to her at on Sunday after the show was over, and she said that where they had critiqued her and where she was losing ground was when she was moving. They saw up here was thin, like her up here in her clavicle and everything was thin. So that's what she said she got critiqued on. Other than that, I don't know any of the other official critiques. Personally, like I said, this is the best front pose I've seen from her. She finally got that waistline of V in. She tends to sometimes go a little bit too much to the side, and she didn't do that here. I really, really liked this front pose a lot from her. Now, what I was talking about with Phoebe's top, Laura Lee did the top really, really well. This is what I'd like to see from Phoebe. I'd like to see a bigger top on her and filled out like this. Laura Lee does not have implants, guys. So just so you guys know, I know that's a thing. People still talk about you have to have implants in order to place. Laura Lee does not have implants. You don't have to have implants, right? She's winning these shows. So she just does a good job of making it balance her physique really well. Yeah, this is definitely my favorite front pose on her. 100%, hands down. So, and I felt like her posing and presentation was on point too. You know, I've said this 1,000 times. She is one of the best posers on stage, period. The best poser on stage, period. So, you know, it's very, very hard to beat that because she's just so confident and she just nails it. She just nails it every time, right? So it's really, really hard to overcome that. Plus, she's just stunning in general. And when she brings her package in right, it's so hard to get over that. So hard to jump up and over that because she's just so good. And I felt like this was this was a really, really good look for her. Okay. So what I saw from her here, as far as flaws, like I said, the rib cage, that's the only thing I saw from the front. And when we pull up the comparison shots, we'll talk about that too. From the back at prejudging, she had some tanning issues in the back. And I'll talk about her pose a little bit on the back too. Those were the things that I saw. But again, going back to, I'm like picking these girls apart. These girls are so good and they're so tight. It's just, you have to literally look with a fine tooth comb to try to find a flaw. And that's what I was trying to do with her. She was just that good. How's everything? I'm reading your comments, guys. Give me a minute. Yeah. So, you know, and again, the clavicle thing, she said that was something she got critiqued on. That is something she got critiqued on. So, you know, I'm not sure exactly how you fix that, you know, but I mean, that is something she got a critique about. If she brought this to the O, I think she would have been top 2. I think she would have been top 2 if she brought this to the Olympia. I can't say she would have won it, but she would have been top 2. So that's my 2 cents. So let's pull up some comparison shots. Let's see what I got here. So the first one I'm going to pull up is this one. This is not a call out. This is when they first came out and they were first walking across the stage, right? So what I want you to look at here, now this is something I didn't mention either. Angelica's tan was too light. You can really see it here. She was too light. But looking at this photo here, what I want you to look at with Evie is what I was talking about before with her torso being so long, right? So her torso is so long right here. It really disrupts that V out into her shoulder. So somehow she's got to figure out how to fix that, right? This is something that actually Laura Lee has as well, but it's not as long. So you can see it here. And again, this is why I like her new front pose so much better because she has such a better V taper with that you don't even look at this anymore. Angelica, again, tan's too light. It's a little splotchy too. And you can see the distension in the waistline, right? And I like to see more shoulder cap from her here too. I think some of her muscularity here could be improved, specifically on her upper body, if she had a darker tan. Rhoda, you can see here, phenomenal proportions, but again, she's kind of leaning a little bit in her upper body with this front pose. So I'd see her stand up taller. I think that would help make her waistline smaller. So I'd fix that. And then, like I said, the conditioning, you can tell her waistline looks just a little bit blown out here, right? Now, when we go over here to Phoebe, you can see from the front, She's in condition, but she's still just a little bit off. She's just a little bit off. So again, this is where I think she had just a layer of water on her. If she brought in like a pound tighter, I think it would have been a different story with her overall look. Again, I don't think this is a bad look for her. When we look at her upper body, like her balance and her waistline and everything, and how she V's in, I think this is a great shape here. I think she just needed to be a little bit leaner, just a little bit, not a lot, little bit, right? Turning them to the back, here's some of the same girls, some different too. Again, they don't have a lot of photos, so I'm just pulling all the rest of them here up together, right? So here is Rhoda in the back. So this is what I was talking about with her genetics from the back. Now she's not fully posed, and even here, not fully posed, you can see how tight her tie-ins are into her hamstrings and her glutes, right? She's too lean. She's just too lean from the back, right? So when she's fully in her pose, that's even more so. That's even tighter, right? Phoebe, you see what I'm talking about with the layer of water? I don't know if you can see it with the photos or not, but I can. I can see how she needs to be just a touch tighter here, just a little blurred out. She's also got some tanning issue here on her glutes. She's got a splotch on her glutes. I don't remember if that was fixed at finals or not. This is a tanning issue, which is all of the tanning issues were very, very noticeable on this stage. I was right behind the judges, literally like this is the perspective that I had right here that you're looking at. I was sitting right next to the photographer. So, you know, this is you can see it, you know what I mean? Angelica needs to be tighter. I mean, you can clearly see she needs to be tighter here. This is where Vana absolutely beat her. You know, you can see right here, this is perfect conditioning from the back. So I don't know if you can see this on the screen or not, but the difference between Vana and Phoebe on the conditioning, Phoebe is a little bit watery. Vana is right there. She's right in, right? And then Ellie, this is what I was talking about too. She's got really overpowering hamstrings on the inner part here. Like that's really, really overpowering. She's going to pull those down. I'm not sure exactly how to do that. That could be a flexibility, mobility thing. I used to have that. My they told me back in the day, because I came from figure, my hamstrings were overpowering like that. So I think they probably knocked some points off because of that. But you know, again, going back to the projection on the glutes, I think she needs a little bit more projection. When you see her next to everybody else here, you can see she lacks some of that projection. I think that it looks great when she's by herself, but it's just when she's next to everybody else, you can see she's clearly got less projection than both Vana and Phoebe when we're looking at the two of them. Hard to tell with Rhoda here because she's not fully in her pose, right? And then when we talk about Angelica, I just like to see Angelica tighter from the back. Also, I don't know if she's fully posed here or not, so I don't want to critique her too hard, but she's yanked up in her upper body too. So she needs to relax that as well. So those are the things I would say from Angelica from the back. And Ellie, again, very, very good, but she just needs to fix this muscularity issue here, right? So again, this is just this is when they first came out. So again, we got Angelica in the center. Now Rhoda's fully in her pose. You can see how tight those hamstring drops are. You can see how tight she is from the back. Phoebe's got great projection on her glutes, but she's watery. You can see she's just a little watery, and you can really see the difference between her and Laura Lee as far as how tight they are from the back. Laura Lee also had some tanning issues on her glutes in the back right here. So I don't know if you can see that, but she's got some tanning issues. And then we've got Evie here, which again, I would relax the arms down, and we're just also blurring the line a little bit on that hamstring tie-in here. So that's what I'm saying. She just kind of lacked that oomph. She was just a little off from the back. She doesn't have the projection. She doesn't have that pop, and then she's lost a little bit of that. I felt like she was fading through prejudging too. I felt like she got a little bit tired or something like that through prejudging. Don't know how long. Maybe she wasn't here long in the States. Maybe it was a time zone thing. I don't know, since she's from Spain. That could be it. I don't know. But yeah, so there's that. Okay, this is your first call out front pose. You know, again, going back to everything we talked about before, you got Amy and you got Laura Lee in the center. They are very, very different physiques, very, very different structures. But this is like phenomenal looks from both of them, right? You know, kind of talking about all the same things again. Vana clearly in third here to me. Again, some tanning issues and things like that, waistline issues, things like that. I think this is a great look here on Phoebe. She's probably, and again, I don't want to critique their poses too hard again because we don't have a lot of pictures. So this could just be a moment in time where she's not fully in her pose, but I would push the glute back a little bit more here. And then Ellie, same thing. Ellie is turned in towards the judges, which is good. All of those things. I actually like Ellie's pose here, but the finger here with Ellie. And again, clearly you can see here why I don't like the pink suit and the lightness of the pink suit on her. It just washes her out. Okay, back pose of that same first call out, all of the things that we mentioned before. And then looking here, the one that we haven't talked about the back pose yet have been Lauralee and Amy. We talked a little bit about Lauralee, but you see the tanning issues. She's got some splotchiness on her glute in the back here. The other thing I would fix with Lauralee is I would open her upper back up a little bit more. I feel like she looks a little bit straight up and down. If she opens up her upper back a little bit more, that's going to make her delts pop. It's going to give her waistline in the back, make her waistline look a little bit smaller. So I would open just a touch in that upper body just to really balance that X-frame out. And then with Amy, again, people were critiquing saying she didn't have hamstrings. She absolutely has hamstrings, and she has just enough. She doesn't have too much here at all. You know, that's the perfect balance right there. Same thing with Lauralee. She doesn't have too much at all. It's just enough where it's not diced in, but you see them, right? That is great conditioning on both of them, right? What do we got? So we got Amy and Lauralee next to each other. Again, it's really, really hard to find a flaw on either one of these physiques right here. You know, this is, again, going back to, this is the best front pose that I've ever seen on Lauralee. This is the best front pose I've ever seen on Amy. So it's like, it's just 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. I mean, they both look phenomenal from the front. So which one do you choose, right? Now, again, I go back to, I felt like Amy had a little bit better of an X-frame, but part of that is just because Amy's shorter. You know, when you look at Lauralee being so tall, she's going to be longer. She's not going to have quite so much of a cartoonish proportion as somebody who's shorter and just has that X-frame, you know, built into them, right? So that's kind of where Amy kind of takes over just in the genetics department, right? But when it comes down to the actual poses themselves, I don't think either one of these girls could have done any better than what they did. I think this was great. And then back pose again, like we were talking about before, you know, they're right on, both of them. You know, again, going back to, you can see what I was talking about with this, I would like to see her open up a little bit more. Maybe it's just the elbows, just maybe open the elbows a little bit, and that would help. But just give her a little bit more of an illusion of a smaller waistline from the back. And again, a little bit of the tanning issue here with that glute in the back. But this is, again, a massively improved look from the Olympia. So it's no wonder why she won this, right? And great look from Amy too. Like I said, the reason why I had her is because of the X-frame. So if Lauralee pulls the elbows out a little bit, maybe pulls the hands up a touch, that would create a better X-frame there. It should be good to go. So again, it's 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. Which one do you like? I mean, which one do you like better? Because they're both in their best condition. They both are doing the best job that they've ever done. So it's just a personal preference, at this point. I would not have been upset with either one of them winning. I'm not upset with either one of them winning. After going through these photos and things like that, what do you guys think? Is there anything that you guys see that maybe changed your opinion, or something that you saw that you didn't see before, or maybe you have a question? Maybe this changed what you thought as far as who you would have had winning. I mean, again, I go back to either one of them. just like I said from prejudging on, either one of them, it's just is what it is. I mean, and the judging panel pretty much agreed with that, because it was pretty close to being a split decision, pretty close. So what do you guys think? What do you guys think? Let me have it. Give me some feedback. What do you guys think? Which placings would you have changed? Which placings do you think like would have been different on your board? On your bikini bingo board? And while I'm waiting for comments to come in too, free newsletter right here. That's boldlyconquer.com. Scan on that. They get you on our free newsletter. I thought Amy was a little bottom heavy, but I changed my mind. There you go. I keep my eye on Rhoda. Yep. Laura-Lee's glutes in the side by the side seem too big. Maybe she should have been second place. I don't think Laura-Lee's glutes were too big at all. I think she looked really well balanced. Curious to see how it would have played out if Ashley Kay and Issa were there. Yeah, that would have been a completely different story if the two of them were there. Sure. Curious to see how it would have been. I like Amy. I thought they got it right. Yep. Again, across the board, I thought that the placings were pretty good. I mean, I could have flip-flopped a couple people, but I thought it was pretty good. I love Amy's roundness and tight waist. Yep, agree. Bikini criteria, do you think Laura-Lee was still too big? Nope, I don't. I don't think Laura-Lee was too big at all. I don't know what her weight was going into this show. I know she was, they said from the Olympia, she was like 8 pounds up from the Arnold or something at the Olympia or something like that. She's clearly brought it back down. No, I do not think she's too big at all. Laura-Lee just has a very different structure from everybody else. Her glutes are different. Her legs are different. Like everything's just different. And not in a bad way. Being different is good, and I think this was one of her best looks ever. I really do. Yep. Okay. I feel like you're spot on. I do. I feel like Amy and Laura-Lee were both spot on. I think they both were. Again, I was picking apart tanning issues on Laura-Lee, Yeah, I'm curious to see how it goes down in the UK. It'd be kind of nice to see Laura-Lee and Amy there in the UK too. But at the same time, I'm glad they're not, because it's gonna give somebody else a chance to win. And I hate saying that. I mean, you want to win, you want to win. You know what I mean? But it's gonna give them an opportunity to bring in their best. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's gonna be a different ball game in the UK, period, because there's a lot more competitors. There's a lot more competitors there. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, because there's some girls that we haven't even talked about that are going. So. But again, going into it, I mean, Vanya's the front runner going into it. So we'll see. So overall, this was a really, really good way to open up the season. I felt like I love the fact that all of the girls pretty much came in for the criteria. You know what I mean? Sometimes we see girls come in really, really off the criteria and things like that. I didn't wrap up wellness here because it was hands down Francielli won it. I mean, it just is what it is. There was like nobody even close. Even Issa wasn't even close. So it was just like wah-wah. For me, it was a wah-wah moment because Francielli looked phenomenal, but nobody even gave her a run for her money. You know what I mean? So that's why we didn't really talk much about wellness. I am going to do a preview for the Arnold UK next week. Yes. Yeah, and I just, I think as far as the critiques one over the other, I think it was just personal preference. I really do, because I don't think either one of them was off. I think they were both really on, and it's just going to come down to, at the end of the day, somebody's got to win and somebody's got to come in second. Somebody's got to win and somebody's got to come in second. I mean, it just is what it is. You can't have everybody win. If everybody could win, then I put them both in first. They were both clearly the top two. So it's just a matter of which one you put in the top. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's hard. It's very, very hard. So, all right, you guys, with that, we're going to wrap it up tonight. Again, Behind the Bikini we'll shoot tomorrow. We're shooting tomorrow morning. So if you have any questions that you'd like to ask us to go over, feel free to do that. We have a really good topic. So we should have a series that we're going to start tomorrow. We're going to start a new series tomorrow. So be watching for that. And other than that, we will be on next week to preview the Arnold UK. We will definitely do that. And if you want to stay in the know about what we're doing as far as all of these feeds and everything else, that's what the free newsletter is all about. So it's boldlyconquer.com. Just type in your email address. That gets you on the newsletter list. And you'll get all the notifications and all of that. So it was a great Arnold. I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of the year play out. It's going to be so much fun. I appreciate all of you being here. This is never fun for me if it's just me by myself. So I appreciate all of the comments. I appreciate everybody being here. I appreciate everybody putting their 2 cents in, asking questions. That's what this is all about. We want to teach. We want to make sure that you guys they tied, right? Yeah. We want to make sure that you guys understand the criteria too. So it makes it more helpful for you as a competitor too. So with that too, if you want to work with me, you can go to shawnscouturecuties.com. I am doing free suit consultations again. So if you're looking to get a suit for the season, feel free to sign up for one of those. I'll walk you through it, tell you everything you need to know as far as getting your suit done for you. And We have a Sundays with Shawn this coming weekend. So if you're in the area and you're going to pose in our group class, we got that on Sunday. I think that's everything. You're welcome. Again, glad I got to see you at the Arnold. I got to see several of you guys at the Arnold, which was fun. I always love running into you guys. And that's it. That's all I got for tonight. I hope you guys have a great rest of your evening. I'm going to go eat, and we'll see you on Behind the Bikini tomorrow. Good night, you guys.